perfect companions never have fewer than 4 feet, wrote French author 𝗀𝗁𝗍𝗃. As part of the family, dogs and cats have a special place in our hearts and homes. And any pet owner knows the roller coaster that follows if they ever go missing. The panic, the frantic search, the anxiety as you imagine the worst. And then the massive relief when you get a message that your beloved animal has been found. Or has it?
I adopted George from foster care 3 years ago, and he was an absolutely lovely cat. We live in the green belt here, so he used to go down into the green belt, come back up again, but he would always be around. And then one day he went off after breakfast, and that was it.
Francia van Riel lives in Cape Town. After her cat George went missing, she put up posters in the area and on several Facebook groups. 2 weeks later, she got a WhatsApp message.
Just said, hi, I'm also in Constantia. I know where your cat is. And my maid, who also works in Constantia, has your cat. And she's going to give him to her daughter who lives out of town. I had heard of pet scamming already, so my red flags were going up immediately.
But Candace Johnston and Anton Munich had never heard of pet scamming when their cat Hazel went missing from their complex in Brackenfell.
We posted a reward for R1,000 on the advert on Facebook, and then also on the printed flyer.
Yeah. About a week later, someone called me and then said that they have Hazel. They were saying that they were driving in the main road and that they had to swerve away. Then they said they ran after Hazel, caught Hazel, and now they have Hazel and a damaged tire, and they want us to pay for the repairs.
What were they asking you for?
They were asking at that time for 5,000 rand.
Yeah.
Pet napping, real or fake? How would you know what to do? Well, who better to ask than a hostage negotiator?
I would first of all want to see a video clip of the pet where I can identify that it is my pet.
Herman Bosman was the provincial commander of the police's hostage negotiation team for 20 years.
Proof of life or proof of having what you claim you have is very, very important. If they cannot prove that they have what they claim they do, then obviously there's no negotiations from that point onwards until they can prove it.
We sent him 200 rand airtime because he claimed that he didn't have airtime to send us a picture, and he said he will send it tonight.
Proof of life never arrived, but the scammer, who calls himself Jason, continued to play cat and mouse.
He was saying, I know I have your cat. She has a pink paw pad on the left side.
Why was the pink paw enough for you to hand over money?
She's a completely black cat, and her having one pink paw pad on her left paw is not very...
It's not common.
Having hooked them with the southpaw, Jason conned Candace into believing she would soon be reunited with Hazel.
You go to Spar, you tell them you want to send 1,500 rand to this number. You give them your number.
No, we would like to first see a picture of the cat, then we will send it.
I'm saying, you're not hearing what I'm telling you.
I am hearing you, but
you're not hearing me. I'm 2 minutes away from you. I'm in the area.
You will bring her to me.
You give me the receipts, you give me the balance of the cash, and you take your cash, and I take my cash, and I go pay my car off.
Okay, I will go do that right now. I live very close to the Spar.
And then I got a slip with like an OTP or PIN or something, and I had to send that to Jason.
And at this stage, you still had no proof that you actually had Hazel?
Yeah.
No proof. But he was so aggressive. And then eventually I sent him the PIN, and obviously then he disappeared, but then we knew.
Yeah.
He never had her. It was all a lie.
Yeah.
The money was withdrawn from Standard Bank in Pietermaritzburg. The scam is running nationwide, from Cape Town to Witbank, Pretoria to Bloemfontein. In almost every province, we found cases of scammers claiming to know the whereabouts of missing pets when they really don't have a clue. What they do know is how to manipulate you. And every day, victims are paying up.
He wants 300 rand up front, and then the balance after he'd given me the address.
When Laura Young's cat Wobbles went missing in Alberton, she was contacted by a Paul Naidu who claimed to be in the area. She agreed to pay to get her cat back.
He then gave me an account number. I asked him, well, I need a name, and he gave me the name 𝗶𝗵𝗶𝗀. So I then did the 300 Rand transfer, and he came back immediately, and he then said, no, his maid now wants 500 Rand to show trust.
Wobbles is still missing and Laura 500 Rand poorer. The matter is being investigated by her bank and the police.
It's easy to think, how could they fall for it? How could they just roll over and pay the ransom? But bereft and desperate, pet owners' emotions make them sitting ducks for scamsters.
That's my biggest fear, is to lose my dog. And I think you'll do anything. You'll believe anything.
Lynn Early is a bit of an amateur pet detective who tried to help Candice and Anton.
I wrote a letter to the brigadier in Natal, and I said Candice had this situation, being scammed. And he replied and just said, we have to apply for 205 and sort of like it's too much work. And then also people should, not be so naive. So that was the feedback I got from SAPS.
So she decided to bait the pet scammer herself by putting a fake post on Facebook using a fake picture of a dog.
What did you say in your post?
I just said, I've lost my dog in 𝗶𝗵𝗶𝗀. I'm looking for him all over. Could you please phone me?
Within hours, she received this voice note, which followed the usual script.
It's my maid who works for me. She works for another white lady as well. This white lady also has your dog. She knows it, so she doesn't want to give it back. Actually, her daughter's coming to take it in the next hour or so. And I can give you all the details. You can drive past, get it, but keep it discreet and anonymous.
Then came the demand for money for a dog that doesn't exist.
My maid also found out you have a reward for this dog. So my maid wants to charge you an amount of 1,000 rands. You pay 400 first. You get the address, you get the dog, then you pay the 600 balance. Or even you can pay 300 first. It's up to you. The ball is in your court. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. I'm an Indian guy. I'm not just a bull.
Did he say who he was?
His name was 𝗶𝗵𝗶𝗀. His cell phone has got a SAPS email address. His true call identification is SAPS organised crime.
It's unclear whether being Indian or being a policeman is meant to inspire confidence, but this scammer poses as Detective Warrant Officer 𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 from Bloemfontein. Carte Blanche can confirm the police have never heard of him and the persona is fake. Lynn decided to send him 200 Rand anyway, just to track his whereabouts.
I paid him 200 Rand at ABSA, and within minutes, I think literally 3 minutes, he withdrew it in Durban.
The 200 Rand was withdrawn from an ABSA ATM in Durban's China Mall.
Is it Paul? Is it Jason? Is it Mr. Naidu? Is it Mr. Govender? Or even Mangru? I've got a whole list of numbers here.
We tried calling over 20 numbers that had been used by the scammers but couldn't get through to any of them. They hadn't been recorded, which means they're untraceable. But one number was registered to a Mrs. Naidu at an address in Tongaat Beach. We decided to pay her a visit.
Okay, we're looking for a man called Paul Naidu. Paul. Not you.
No, my name is Bala.
Bala. And Mrs. Yaganayagi Naidu, who's that?
Well, that was my wife.
Was your wife?
Yeah.
She passed. Oh, I'm so sorry, Uncle.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Scamming is nothing new, and I think pet scamming is just a new way where they work on somebody's emotions and love for the animal and the pets.
How would you categorize this crime? Is it extortion?
It's definitely extortion. It can definitely amount to obtaining an advantage from somebody else, playing on your emotions.
Ironically, Hazel the cat was found safe and sound and returned home 2 months later.
In our investigation of over 20 cases, only 3 people actually reported the scam to the police. Some saw right through it, others were simply too embarrassed to approach the authorities. But even if they had, would there have been an investigation?
I think that the problem in most of the cases is the money paid and the money involved doesn't justify spending a lot of money on investigation and trying to retrieve the perpetrator. I think there may be many more people, get a group together, and if there is a definite syndicate in this, I think the police will then have to look into this.